Why do we feel that others think we are good? It's not about survival, and it's not about confidence. Some people might imagine that others like them. Imagine that others hate them. Constantly guessing how others perceive them. But a person whose attention is anchored within themselves focuses on what I want to do, what I like, what I dislike, rather than how others perceive me. If we are surviving, we are in a state of living out our lives. In that state, we would have our own life arrangements to keep ourselves alive. We would have our own boundaries, our own choices, and our own degrees of intimacy and distance. We would have our own body moving toward what keeps us alive, meaning what our biological instinct genuinely likes, what is truly good and strong. And we would naturally keep our distance from what our body refuses to approach, meaning what we truly reject and loathe, what is harmful to our survival. We act according to our body. The body calculates, and has always been calculating. Then, we follow our body to approach that person or that place. Only in scenarios that require evaluation do we actually judge the other side as good-looking, powerful, a straight-A student, truly strong, truly good, or this place is wonderful, or that staying in this place makes us feel loathing, hatred, and unhappiness. Normally, our body simply approaches. When we interact with this person, the body feels comfortable. It is only from a third-party perspective that it looks like we are evaluating them, as if we are showing that we like that person or that place, or that we look very comfortable interacting with them. Ordinarily, we do not evaluate, which means we neither project nor accept projections. We simply act according to the body, approaching, replying, staying far away, driving them away, or cutting them off completely. Why do we feel that others think we are good? Our body, just like the bodies of creatures in nature, instinctively seeks survival, constantly surviving for the sake of survival. My body goes to approach this person, but because I am so used to being suppressed, bullied, and abused as a child out of envy, the moment I try to survive, I get targeted by envious suppression and bullying. My body enters a state where it cannot move, which means I cannot go and live. That would mean betraying my body, betraying myself, and not allowing myself to live. So, I stop acting according to my body. Instead of going toward the strong and the good on the other side, I stop, I back up, I push away, or I even move downward to approach the inferior and the wicked, dying in their place. By state of death, I don't mean physiological death. It is a state where one's attention is entirely occupied by the external world, losing the capacity for agentic action. Of course, since you are dying in their place, you will offer up your internal and external self, your assets, and even your life to them, dying on their behalf. How do we explain this? How do we avoid cognitive dissonance? I gaslight myself and tamper with reality. I project onto the other side, imagining they are too good and I am unworthy, or that I am very good and they are unworthy, just to explain away my body's previous behavioral reactions of stopping, backing up, and pushing away, which happen in an instant. My bodily state has long been reduced to a shriveled, vanished, scapegoated state due to envious bullying and child abuse, working completely against the comfortable state of physical breathing and expansion that allows me to live. By the same token, when facing low, evil, violating bullies and criminals, our body's instinct is to walk away, fight back, and eliminate them. If we do not act according to our body, which means choosing to live, we will alter the facts. When we survive and live, we are constantly living and constantly moving. The moment we enter death, where our attention is no longer on ourselves and what our body is doing, we start helping the outside world live by projecting onto it, imagining how the outside world views us and violates us. It is all our own projection, it is entirely us dying for the outside world and helping it live. Our living is defined by what we do, not by what the outside world does or what it wants us to do. Our living consists of our own emotions, our own feelings, our own judgments, what we want, and what we choose to engage with. It does not mean we must accept whatever comes our way. A living creature in a state of being alive clearly possesses a self at all times. It constantly acts, seeks survival, and experiences its own joy, anger, sorrow, and joy, rather than projecting onto the outside world, dying for it, paying attention to it, and analyzing it. Why do we feel that others think we are good? Suppose you are driving on the road, and your body is in a good mood because of something. You are going where you want to go and doing your own thing, or you are in a great mood feeling that you are dressed very well today, taking pride in your appearance, degree, talent, in short, you feel good. Suddenly, your body tells you to keep your distance and bypass something. A sense of physical rejection and loathing surges up. Your body moves away from or drives off the approaching car or person. The body is always instinctively seeking survival, calculating every single second to keep you alive. But you do not act according to your body. Then, an aggressive personality approaches, projecting envy, suppression, and slander onto you. At this moment, if you choose to live, you should act according to your body to live, staying far away or eliminating the person and environment that make you uncomfortable, anxious, and trigger your fight or flight response, where you feel rejection, disgust, and nausea. But instead of living, you die for them. You begin to dissociate, your vision blurs, you relinquish control, you put on a placating smile, and you fantasize about how good-looking or strong you are, telling yourself that they won't hurt you, that they only came over because they admire you so much and think you are so wonderful, or conversely, that they are better and stronger than you, etc. You do all this just to avoid continuing to live, to avoid continuing to feel good, and to avoid driving those envious, suppressing, and bullying forces out of your boundaries, fighting back, punishing, and eliminating them. Otherwise, why don't you act according to your body? Why don't you fight or flee? If you act according to your body to live on, you won't alter the facts. You will move upward toward areas with good, strong people, and you will drive what you dislike out of your boundaries. You wouldn't do the opposite, where the better someone is and the more truly good they would be to you, the less you use your body to contact and approach them to live, while the worse, more vicious, and more physically sickening, repulsive, and eliminable someone is, the more you approach them, fawn over them, and die in their place as a scapegoat to help them live, while your brain alters reality to think that they like you the most, that they are the best, and that you like them. In short, you are dead. Your life, your property, your health, and your judgment are gone. If you do what your body tells you to do, you live. If you go against your body, you die. The things your body approaches are what you actually like, what is truly strong, good, and beautiful, and what is beneficial to your survival. Not acting according to the body causes one to alter reality, turning living into driving away what is good and claiming to hate it. Conversely, when faced with what makes the body nauseous and loathing, what it should move away from, fight back against, and eliminate, not acting according to the body, which means failing to live for oneself, causes one to alter it into dying for them, enduring their exploitation, accepting their death projections, and being destroyed by their envy. Acting according to the body is what it means to live on. Why does this happen? It is because one was born in a region where the moment you try to live, act, and survive, you are violated by envious criminality. And the moment you encounter aggressive criminals, the moment you are targeted by their envious violations, bullying, and projections of their own death, you die for them instead of continuing to live, fighting back, and driving them out of your boundaries, using the biological instinct for upward survival, law, and moral sanctions to eliminate them rather than abetting the wicked. In nature, life instinctively seeks survival, striving to live on. But if an infant is born into an environment that does not self-regulate and relies on the outside world to live, then every time this life acts on instinct to seek survival, it will be suppressed by envy. They use projection, prying, insults, jealousy, slander, defamation, libel, isolation, and violence to violate and suppress life, projecting their own death onto that life. What is envied about a life is its act of living. Animals in nature forage, stay away, drive off, and eliminate. They do not accept violation or deception. It is about what I am going to do, what my life plan is, what I want, and what I don't want, not what others want me to do. My living is not me dying for them. Ever since trauma survivors were abused as children by them, they have no longer been in a state of being alive. They are not living for themselves and taking control, maintaining a schedule of what to do at what exact hour and minute, or having life goals, or having their own body feel good so that their mood is naturally good, rather than being watched under a violating gaze, putting on a fake smile, and faking a good mood. They live in a dissociated, dead state of being submerged by the world's violating gaze, focusing on how they look to the world, all to avoid truly living and taking control. There is no I am doing what my bodily instinct tells me to do, I am persisting in what I do, my attention is on my body, and I listen to what my bodily instinct tells me to do. Instead, it is I have died for the outside world, and I am paying attention to the outside world. In a state of death, a state of being violated, they violate themselves and gaze upon themselves, thinking about how they are dressed very well today, or how great their appearance, degree, or talent is. It is blurry and dissociated, instead of simply, I dress this way, I am satisfied with it, and that indicates I have taken care of myself. During infancy and toddlerhood, the instinct to listen to the body to seek survival, which is to say, to live, was murdered by the underground envy of those who cannot self-regulate and who parasitize others to live. Those who harm life are themselves hollow shells parasitizing others, they do not face themselves or take care of themselves. How could such an environment ever produce a fresh, traumatized life that actually knows how to live for itself? They envy life, they envy others who can self-regulate, who do not rely on others, and who do not bind themselves to others. Trauma survivors born in that kind of region are not in a state of being alive for a single second. Furthermore, if one were to follow the survival instinct of creatures in nature, a life would instinctively leave that region the moment it is born. But an infant cannot move, it has to adapt. And adapting to child abusers who parasitize others, harm life, and cannot bear to see the outside world do well makes it impossible to act according to the body, which means it makes it impossible to live. Imagining that others think I am good is a state of death. A person stops acting as a subject and begins to validate their own existence through the gaze of the outside world. When a person fails to live and act according to their body, they alter the facts to fit the state of bodily death, violation, and gaze, just to explain why they are not acting according to their body to live. Clearly, our survival demands the good and the better, we are meant to choose, not to be violated and chosen. If we were living according to ourselves and our own bodies, in a state of being alive, we would be in a state of going, I go to drive, to buy something, to sell something, to check the kitchen, and I would naturally have the reaction of I hate them, I will not have contact with them, and we would have isolated ourselves from that growth environment long ago. We live, we do not die for them and accept their violating projections, which leave us unable to look, unable to use our hands and feet to do things, blurring our vision, freezing us, as if our bodies were controlled by them. When we go to live, we just keep on living, we break through the triggered envy and continue to live. We keep our attention on what our body is doing, feeling, and responding to, and we stop standing in its way. We set the body free to live.